Okay, guys, I apologize for, we had some issues here in our chambers.
Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good, thank you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. What happened?
All right, and Ray, are you there? Ray Nazareth?
Yes, I am. Can you see me, the video?
I cannot see you. Lauren, can we toggle off? It appears we have another applicant on the webcam. If we could toggle off their webcam.
Mitty, just let me know this is Bradford whenever I can restart my presentation.
Excuse me, can everybody see me? I'm trying to get on, but they said it's full.
Okay, so I'm good. I don't need to.
Don, you're going to have to turn your video off. We're only allowed 6 people, and we've got Mitty and the applicant and others.
I did, sir. Hopefully you can hear me. I did turn it off.
Lauren, you'll have to, like Mitty said, toggle off of the applicants. That way we see the commissioners.
We
Bradford,
still see you,
I just took myself off. Ray, are you on there now?
No, he's
Ray,
not.
Your camera's not green,
There
Ray.
you
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Are we ready, Mitty?
Yeah, Lauren, if you can just let the record reflect that there was a glitch with the GoToWebinar and we're going to resume the meeting at 7:24.
We had a glitch in our GoToMeeting webinar, and we're going ahead and restart the meeting at 7:24.
Thank you, Bradford. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I want to start with the in conclusion. I think that's where kind of things began to go south for us. In conclusion, staff is recommending denial of application 19-120 and ordinance number 1003, given that the proposed future land use map amendment is incompatible with the adjacent commercial uses. The proposed amendment fails to identify how the residential use will sufficiently be buffered from the existing commercial uses, and it fails to identify how it will protect the health, safety, and welfare of pedestrians and bicyclists along the residential entrance drive. This is a unique situation where the village council has already reviewed and weighed in on this application. The village council considered this request on June 18th and voted to approve the comprehensive plan amendment request. With that being said, I'll turn the floor back over to the chairman. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Obviously, Doug, you are here. Do you wish to make any statements?
Yes, I do have a full presentation, that I'd like to present if the commission's interested, but it's entirely up to you. I do want to make everybody aware of the project and go through some of the details, but again, it's up to the commissioner.
Well, no, you are totally within your right to give a presentation on this proposal.
Then yes, I would like to. I'll try to be as I can, but I would like to you know, this is the first step in a long process, so I'm sure all of you are going to see this again. So I'd kind of like to give you the presentation so you can kind of become aware of the project, because we will be coming back for zoning and land use. I'm sorry, zoning and site plan in the near future. If I could just get the control to share my screen, I could start.
Lauren, did you hear that? Can you help share his screen?
She got
Yes,
it.
I did.
Thank you.
You need to clean up your desktop.
That's what I was gonna say.
All right. Is that on the PowerPoint for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Deal on my desktop. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Doug Murray with WGI. I'm here to present the Lakeside Landing project. Again, we're in for a comp plan amendment. We have not submitted the site plan or zoning at this point. That'll be coming in the near future, hopefully later this month. So we're requesting to change the future land use from commercial to multifamily low density residential. Here's a location map of the site. So northwest corner of Okeechobee, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. So directly behind the Village Royale Shopping Plaza. It's a little bit hidden. It's a wooded site. To the west, you have Madison Green, separated by the M1 canal. And then to the north, you have the what's known as the Versa apartment complex that's, again, separated by another body of water coming off the canal. The total acreage of this site is 12.28 acres. Again, we're trying to go from commercial to multifamily low. The zoning that will come in, we'll take it from general commercial to RM9, and we're proposing 100 fee simple townhomes. So this site has some approval histories on it. It's part of an overall development in the Waterway Plaza, which is it's partially developed now. The overall square footage of the approval, the original approval, was 147,000 square feet. And that the original approval was in 1988, and it's been through several approvals since then to kind of modify some of the commercial uses. And most recently, there was a Dunkin' Donuts that came into that they want to relocate. You guys are probably familiar with that one. So this is an overlay on the aerial of the old approved site plan from 1988, but again, it is still a valid approved plan. So the total square footage is about 147,000 square feet. In red, you can see the unconstructed square footage, which consists of retail, office, and a motel. That's 106,423 square feet of unconstructed. And then the constructed portion of the site plan would be the Chevron along Okeechobee. Then along Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, you have that shared access drive. And to the south of that, you have the Exxon, Meineke, and the car wash. To the north, you have the current Dunkin' Donuts and the vacant parcel, which was just approved to build another Dunkin' Donuts, and the first one will be demolished. So this is a traffic comparison. So this basically shows you that unbuilt approved square footage that I just showed you. It's 106,000 square feet, comparing to what we're proposing, which is the 110 homes. So you go from a daily trip rate of 3,237, and you're reducing it down to 732 trips. So if you look at it from what's approved and what we're proposing, it's a substantial reduction, actually a 77% decrease in anticipated traffic trips. And as Bradford mentioned, we have obtained the traffic approval from Palm Beach County, saying that we meet the TPS standards of the county. Here is, again, this is just a graphic of the preliminary site plan we're looking at right now. Nothing has been submitted to the village on the site plan or the zoning at this point, but it's important to go over this quickly because the reasons for staff recommending the panel are really site plan related, in my opinion, and I want to give you a quick look at those. So to the west, you have the Madison Green community. Those are 0 lot line homes. And we have a pretty good separation by that M1 canal. It's a 200-foot canal, but if you include the maintenance easements that are part of that, you're looking at around 240 feet. Then to the east and south, this is subject of why staff's recommending denial. So the code states that we have to provide a 25-foot buffer. And then because when the Village Royale Shopping Plaza came in for approval, they were adjacent to the site being commercial, so they actually were not required to do a buffer at all. So we're being required to make up for the fact that they didn't have to do a buffer, and we're now being required to do a 50-foot buffer, which, in my opinion, is excessive. We're proposing a 25-foot landscape buffer with a 6-foot concrete wall and substantial landscape. And for a majority of these townhomes that are being proposed, you can see the buildings are still set back from the property line. So we still have a 100-foot setback for all but one house building. So if you think about it, even if we had that 50-foot buffer and the buildings were back up to that buffer, it would be a little over 50 feet from the property line. We're providing a setback to help that buffering, the physical buffering from the commercial. Then to the access off of Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, we have that existing shared access. It does have a sidewalk on the north side, so these residents will have access to that sidewalk over to Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. And again, it's going to be gated. In communicating with the Village Royale Shopping Plaza owner, we did discuss proposing a pedestrian access. So we would have a break in the wall and a gate for residents. They could come through, have access to the plaza, go down the shop, to the restaurants, whatever they might do. There's a nice little break between those buildings and the plaza where they could walk over and help give business to that plaza, which from the owners, conversation with the owners, it's struggling to keep tenants, especially these days. Before COVID, he was struggling to keep tenants. A letter of support from the plaza owner, basically saying at the end he supports the 100 townhomes. He'll think it provide a lot of business to him instead of unnecessary additional retail shops. Here's a close-up of the existing shared access road from Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. Again, this is an area where staff is requiring another 50-foot buffer, but it's an existing roadway that's going to be a shared access roadway. We don't have any room to provide 50-foot of buffering on both sides. So straight in from this access, we're going to have the access to the future townhomes. Again, we have an existing sidewalk that we're going to connect to just north of that. And when we will be seeking a relief from that 50-foot buffer, which will be a waiver that we're requesting. And
I'm in a zoning
a little bit.
Zoom hearing anyway, but let's cook it.
This is a little bit unique because we have no residential units in this area. We're changing this area to a residential land use. However, it's essentially just an access road. Residential units, no incompatibility buffer issues there. And as you can see, the buffer provided would impact the parking on the for these business owners, and business owners don't want a buffer. They want visibility to their businesses. We just don't see this as any type of impact to, it doesn't affect the compatibility or of that nature. So here we have an existing sign that another issue brought up by staff that it would be, it's a sign for Waterway Plaza. There was discussions about it being an off-site sign, which would not be allowed. However, we don't think that's an issue. The property owner, Mr. Santamaria, the applicant, this is a sign easement from him. He actually constructed the sign himself. He has a sign easement agreement. If that sign is an issue, he's agreed to tear that sign down, as it's only being used today by Dunkin' Donuts, and they have another sign. So we don't see that as an issue. So this is just a quick example of another project in Royal Palm Beach, Park Air. the name. It's an apartment complex on 441. You can see that in orange. And then if you look, there's a little sliver. That's the access to the development to the north of that commercial. So we'll zoom in on that area a little bit. So in our opinion, this is the same exact situation as we're proposing. You have this Christina Drive coming in off State Road 7, access the apartments, and it's going right through 2 commercial uses. If this functions well, and two commercial uses there, you don't have a 50-foot buffer on both sides. You get to see where you're going as you're coming in there, and they provided a nice landscape entrance. Another quick example in the village, although this is a mixed-use site, the site was key. You have the retail being under construction now, the townhomes are built. But again, you're showing the lack of buffering here. You have rear of these retail restaurants, drive-throughs, right behind these townhomes, these peaceful townhomes, right adjacent to this 50-foot right-of-way. That's a minor street separating them. So at your closest point, you have 80 feet. Just trying to provide another example of us providing much greater separation than they are, and this is an approved project in the village. This is, in our mind, we do adhere to all the future land use amendment standards in the village's code. The list, I won't read all these, but we do comply with every single one. So in conclusion, there is going to be a substantial reduction in the amount of traffic generated. We have a 77% reduction in traffic. I know that's always a concern. Secondly, the compatibility concerns between the townhomes and the commercial uses will be addressed with appropriate buffering. We're providing a 25-foot buffer with a 6-foot wall, substantial landscape in between, and we're setting back the townhomes from the commercial project, the existing Village Royale shopping plaza, so we don't see that as an issue at all. And the location is just not fit. I mean, you can see that it's behind Village Royale shopping plaza. It has no visibility. Most likely that's why it hasn't been constructed as commercial. And lastly, we see it as an ideal transition from the 0 lot line community to the west to these simple townhomes to the commercial, and then you have those apartments to the north. So we think it's an ideal transition in density from low density to the west to the commercial use. And that concludes my presentation, but I'd like to open it up to any questions or comments on the project.
Lauren, do we have any comments from the public?
Not at this time.
And Lauren, if you could, before, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry for the interruption, if you could be clear, Lauren, did the village receive any public comment in advance of this meeting?
No, Mitty, we did not.
And are there any folks on the online remote website with their hands raised for this agenda item?
Not at this time either, Mitty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if we have no public comment, I'll ask for comments or questions from our commissioners, and we'll start with Ross.
So I guess I think this question is for Bradford. Bradford, do you, I understand that the staff is recommending denial. The applicant has made a pretty good case that this is not a bad location. It's actually a pretty decent location for residential. I realize, I understand the buffering requirements would not be met. However, we do on occasion approve variances. So my question is, why not approve a variance for this particular application? Now, I do have concerns about, I'm not so concerned about the buffering. I think they can provide that buffering with the wall and the landscaping. You did mention a concern about the sidewalk or pedestrian and bicyclist access and safety issues. Could you explain that as well a little bit more?
As part of the applicant's application, They did not address the pedestrian connection to Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. There were no illustrations provided in their packets like they provided here tonight in their presentation.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Philip?
I think it's a good use for this land because I don't think it'll ever be used for commercially because you can't see from the road. So I have no problem with it. As far as the buffering, I think that can be worked out. I think what they propose is satisfactory to me. And, this will, bring tax revenue to the village, which is always good, opposed to commercial going in there and then 2 years later, they're closed. It's an empty building. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Ray? Ray, are you there?
Ray, you're muted. It looks like you're muted, Ray. Unmute yourself.
Ray looks like he's in a disco or something.
Yeah. Black lights off, Ray.
Let's enjoy the moment. He's not that quiet very often.
Well, let's move over to Adam because he's filling in for June on this.
No, he's actually not on the dais, Mr. Chair. I apologize. We need to hear from Ray. Adam is not sitting up on the dais.
Okay.
I guess we may have to call him on his phone.
Lauren, do you have Ray muted on your end?
I do not.
Ray, if you can hear me, you're muted on your end. If you can unmute yourself.
His video feed is also, the video is really poor quality, so he may have internet issues. But he could call in to me.
This isn't going well, folks.
Laura, could you call him?
Lauren, why don't you send him a chat?
Or text him?
Oh.
We'll give him 1 second, Mr. Chair. You do still have a quorum of your LPA, so in the event that he does not resume, you can proceed without him if he is in fact having technical difficulties.
You want to give him a minute, though?
Just a couple seconds in the event that Lauren is chatting with him. I think you may be right. I see his screen is a little bit jarbled, so maybe his internet connection is having a problem. Ray, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, Ray Nazareth?
He's here, but his audio is turned off, and I requested him to unmute it, but I don't think he sees it, and now it says he's offline.
Okay, Mr. Chair, go ahead and proceed without him.
Okay.
And we'll let the record reflect that only the 3 commissioners are remaining on the dais.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions here. Have we addressed, I agree, I think it's a better use of the land, but have we addressed the school situation and or have you addressed, I should say?
Sure, I can answer that. So that would be a condition that they're recommending once we get to a point when this is going to have site plan approval. The school board's recommending, which they have been on all residential projects in the county, they're recommending that fee to be paid because I believe it's the high school is over capacity. So they use that fee for whatever they see fit. in order for the project to be approved. It's a recommendation, and they recommend it prior to the issue of a building permit. And that's in addition to what developers already get paid for impact fees.
Okay, and then the only other question I would have would be for, well, no, I guess you answered that. Okay, well, I have no further questions then. But I will need to get a motion from one of you two gentlemen that are still here. Ross or Philip?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve application number 19120.
And a second? Ross?
I'll second that.
All right, well, I assume you two are in favor then, and I'll throw in a favorable vote also. So it was 3-0, it carries. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it. Good night.
All right. Now, can we get June back?
Mr. Chair, just give Lauren 1 second. I believe she's texting her.
That's fine. Just let me know when to go.
She must have thought we forgot about her.
No, we texted her in the interim. She was on standby.
She said, heck with it. She went to make cocktails.
She's out walking her dog.
Okay, she should be hopping on here. Just give her 1 additional second.
This rate will be here all night.
I know this is we got to move this along, guys.
Oh my gosh. We need to keep Ray muted.
Yeah.
We do have a new normal in life now.
Yeah.
We're almost an hour in and we've only heard one thing.
Mm-hmm. We have, what, 13 items on the agenda, I think, total?
Yes, we do.
The good news is, majority of these should go very fast. My presentations are maybe 2 or 3 minutes at the most.
Gotta love that, Bradford.
I knew we'd have this conversation about, we got to move this along.
Mitty, should we invite Adam back?
Give me 1 second, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here, guys.
Oh. All
There
right.
you go, June. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I believe that Ray is also in the process of getting back in as well.
There's June.
Hello, guys.
So go ahead, Mr. Chair, and we'll get Ray logs back in 1 second, but go ahead and proceed, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to item number 2. which is application number 19-129, zoning text. The applicant, Camilo Mendez Lorino, is requesting a zoning text amendment to allow for adult daycare centers within the general commercial zoning district and to establish supplemental regulations applicable to adult daycare centers, specifically proposed for 1141 to 1143 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. I turn that over to you, Bradford.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is Mitty.
Mitty will be giving a presentation on this.
Yes, thank you, Bradford. Is the applicant on, Lauren? Lauren, can you hear me?
I can. Give me a second. I'm about to unmute him.
Okay, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is applicant driven. I will, while they're getting on and we're waiting for them, this is a zoning text change. As you read into the record, this would allow for adult daycare centers within the general commercial zoning district. An ordinance has been prepared to reflect this. We have worked with the applicant both through the TSR process and in preparation for this meeting. But in essence, this was a request by the applicant, but we worked with the applicant to develop supplemental regulations for these adult daycare centers. So the request is not only to allow them in CG, but also to establish supplemental regulations that would govern these adult daycare centers when they are not affiliated with your current code uses in senior housing facilities. So if the applicant is on, Lauren, we can let them have their presentation.
All right, can you hear me as well?
Yes, sir. Can you state your name for the record?
My apologies. This is Attorney Al Phillips on behalf of Royal Palm Adult Daycare Center.
Thank you, sir. Because you are going to be speaking on this item, I will swear you in. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And if you may proceed with your presentation and go from there.
We're going to go with village staff presenting the application first.
That was sort of the 10,000 foot view from me. Bradford doesn't have a formal presentation, so the applicant can give their presentation and I can follow up and answer any questions that the commission has.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Thank you, Mitty.
Thank you, sir.
All right, once again, this is Attorney Al Phillips here on behalf of Royal Palm Adult Daycare Center. My client, Mr. Mendez, is also on the line, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Thank you to all the commissioners and everyone that's present this evening, and thank you for your time. As Ms. Bernard has stated, I've been working closely with the council as well as planning and zoning in reference to our requests. The purpose of our request was my client wanted to open an adult daycare center in the village of Royal Palm Beach. In the amendment, in the text or in the code, there was no regulation in association with the adult daycare center, a standalone adult daycare center. It did make mention to one that was a auxiliary facility to a assisted living facility, but my client saw a need, and after looking at several locations, he deemed that the village of Royal Palm Beach would be a perfect fit for his business. And as we went through the process and as we were going through and attempting to prepare to be able to open a business, we noticed this was a matter that needed to be resolved. Before I get too far into it, and I will be short because I know you guys have a lot of items on your agenda and I don't want to hold up a lot of your time, I will say that the location has been approved with the landlord, which is right across the street from you, the Winn-Dixie Shopping Plaza. We have looked at the criteria in the text amendment and what's being required for the adult daycare center. We have gone over those things with the proposed landlord in this particular case. What we're requesting in the text amendment is just to be allowed to be in your general commercial area, to have a standalone adult daycare center to which my client can operate. And key points here, it is an adult daycare center. That means there's no overnight stay. There's no medical services that are being provided. This is primarily to care for adults during the day while families are working to give the families the ability to have some relief during the day of taking care of their loved ones. That's what the purpose of this text amendment is for. And we're more than happy to answer any questions in reference to this. But primarily, there is adult daycare allowed in the villages of Royal Palm Beach. There was just no code references as to it being allowed in general commercial areas as a standalone facility.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
my apologies. Yes.
Lauren, do we have any comments that were sent in from the public or anyone online for this item?
No, not at this time.
Okay, well then I'll go to our commissioners. This time we'll start with June. Any comments, June?
Hi, good evening. Yeah, just a question or two. This adult daycare center, what would the hours of the operation be? And what days of the week?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Mendez, can you hear that question? By chance, is he muted? I know he's on. I was texting with him a moment ago.
Yeah, see, yours comes as I want to come up. Is that what you're talking about?
Sure, who are you looking for?
Camilo Mendez.
Lauren, do you see that person on?
Yes, he's unmuted.
Hey everyone, are you guys hear me?
Yes, sir,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mendez, apologies, I don't know if you heard that last question.
Yes, it's Monday through Friday from 8 a.m.
What's-
to 4 p.m.
From 8 a.m. to what?
From 8 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m.
Okay, and how many days a week?
5 days.
5 days?
Monday through Friday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have for now.
Philip, you have any comment or questions?
I think it's a service that's probably well needed in the village. Those hours don't seem to be good for me as far as, you know, if people are working and they're putting their loved ones there. They close at 4 or 5 o'clock. I don't see how they can get there. You know, I would think it'd be, you know, like from 7 to 7 or something like that. But aside from that, I have no problem with this.
And Ross?
No comments or questions.
And did we ever get Ray back?
He's still working on it. We do not have him yet.
Okay, all right. I have no comments either. I think it's a great idea. So with that said, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application 19-129.
I'll make a second.
Second from Philip. Okay. Lauren, will you call roll call, please? Lauren?
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said we decided we were going to do roll call because we're having so many audio issues tonight. For the vote, yay or nay? Can I call for a vote on the proposal?
Just proceed, Mr. Chair, with all in favor or any opposed, if you would.
All right. Yeah, let's just get moving here. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Our next item is item number 3, application number 19-127, zoning text again. The applicant Kimberly Horn is requesting a zoning text amendment to allow for electric vehicle charging stations within the general commercial zoning district and to establish supplemental regulations applicable to electric vehicle charging stations, specifically proposed for 10287 Okeechobee Boulevard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a similar scenario. I'll jump in here while hopefully we're getting the applicant ready to go. This is very similar to the preceding item. This is applicant driven. However, the request was when originally made just generically to allow electric vehicle charging stations. So the applicant has worked with village staff on, again, allowing what their original request was, which was to allow these stations within CG, but also then to establish supplemental regulations. So an ordinance has been prepared. It's ordinance 1002, which, as is stated there, would allow electric vehicle charging stations in CG and also set some supplemental regulations with regard to signage, sort of the appearance of the charging station themselves, what can and can't be in the parking space, how the parking spaces are calculated to allow for these. Essentially the things that we need to consider when these are allowed to go in parking lots. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant, and then I can answer any questions that the commission has.
Okay, we have
The applicant's on.
Okay, who is the applicant that we're speaking to?
Lauren, do we know who it is? Is it Marissa?
Yeah, it's Casey Hart.
Okay, Casey, can you hear me? If you can, please proceed with your presentation.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes, this is Casey Hart from Kimley Horn. I do not have a formal presentation prepared for you all, but I will field questions as you guys have them. So.
Okay, let's go to the commissioners. And Ross, do you have any questions?
No questions, thanks.
June?
Will you have any specific amount of charging stations?
In our application, we are proposing 4, but we will go to formal site plan after the zoning code is amended.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Philip?
And if I may jump in, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to address that comment as well. The ordinance as drafted allows for no more than 5 in a given parking lot, to somewhat restrict that for now, with the understanding that we're going to kind of wait and see how these develop and if there's a need for more in the future. But for now, just to put a quantity on it.
Okay.
Philip?
I have no questions.
Yeah, just for the record, I think it's a great idea. There more and more electric cars are on the road, so we can get some charging stations. I think that's a great idea. So with that said, can I get a motion to approve application number 19-127 zoning text?
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, before we get a motion, if we could ask Lauren if there are any public comments received by the village or online for this item.
Sorry. Yep.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Proceed, Mr. Chair.
Can I get a motion then?
I'll make
I'll make the motion to approve application number 19-127.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, that pretty much concludes our planning agency meeting agenda for tonight. The only board business we have is our next meeting is Tuesday, July 28th. And I'll call this meeting to adjourn so we can move on to our planning and zoning meeting.
Before you adjourn,
I'm sorry? Now, Minnie, do we need to do the roll call again? Mitty?
I'm sorry, did you hear Ray just speak to you, Mr. Chair?
I didn't hear what you said. I said, do we need to do roll call again?
Yes, if we could for planning and zoning, but I wanted to confirm, Mr. Nazareth, I believe, is showing up as back online. Can you hear him?
I cannot.
No.
Okay, go ahead and have Lauren call the roll for the P and Z, Mr. Chair, if you would.
Yes, Lauren, would you please do that?
Yes, Chairman David Leland,
Here.
Vice Chair Ross Schillingford,
Here.
Commissioner June Perrin,
Here.
Commissioner Philip Marquis,
Here.
Commissioner Ray Nazareth, Adam Miller, alternate 1,
Here. And then can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our June 9th meeting?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the June planning and zoning meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. We still do not have Ray. So let's move on to our first application, which is application number 20-13 variance for 203 Bob White Road. The applicant, Tanya Mills, is requesting a variance from section 26-57 to allow for a reduced rear setback of 0 feet, where the code requires 10 feet for an existing pergola, for a property located at 203 Bob White Road. Bradford, do you have to present to us?
And
Yes,
Mr.
sir, I
Chair,
do.
Bradford, before you begin, if I could swear in the applicant and take ex parte communications, do we have the applicant online? Lauren,
yes, she is on, Tanya Mills is her name, and she is online.
can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. I can't see you. Can you raise your, I need to swear you in first. This is a quasi judicial hearing. Can you raise your right hand for me?
I'm sorry, I'm just getting some feedback. 1 second. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me? Ma'am? Ms. Mills?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just had to, my phone and internet was not working. Or can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I can. Can you raise your right hand for me? I'm trying to swear you in.
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-13 that need to be disclosed at this time.
No.
Okay, hearing that, Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Ray, you got to take off the tie-dye stuff. There you go. Now if you just sit up straight in your seat.
Oh, heck, what happened there?
Okay, Bradford, what do you have for us?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The applicant is requesting variance from section 2657 to allow for a reduced rear yard setback of 0 feet for a pergola in lieu of the 10-foot side yard setback required by village code, resulting in variance of 10 feet. The applicant asserts that the pergola is necessary in this location because they need protection from southern exposure while maintaining airflow from predominant easterly winds, as well as proximity to sprinklers to the orchids. The sun, wind, and water needs of the orchids are unique to each species. This location allows the best growth conditions while eliminating susceptibility to fungi and disease that can occur when conditions are not ideal. Village staff sent out the required mail notices to all residents within 3 feet radius of the subject property. Notifying property owners of the variance request. The village did not receive any responses to supporting or objecting to the application, and the applicant has not provided letters of support from adjoining neighbors supporting the variance request. Here is a location of the pergola. As you can see, it is on the property line. These are the conditions in which a variance can be approved. Here is a picture of the pergola. Village staff is not in support of the variance request because staff believes that no special conditions or circumstances exist which are not applicable in other lands. conditions as a result of the actions of the applicant, confer on the applicant special privileges that are denied to other lands. Little interpretation of the village code does not deprive the applicant of rights enjoyed by their land zoning district, not the minimum variance necessary to allow reasonable use of the property. Again, staff is recommending denial of this application, and I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Thielen. Thank you.
Okay. The applicant is online. Do you wish to make any comments?
I didn't know I was able to get anything from neighbors, so I apologize that I didn't get that done. But I do need appropriate cover. I grow 100 orchids in that structure. I just don't have another spot in the yard given the exposure of the sun. I don't have any protection without it being against the fence. The fence blocks the southern exposure from the bottom, and the screen on the top helps with the sun when it's directly above. There isn't another spot in the yard where I could have the orchids. So I'm not sure what else I could possibly do. And it's certainly on the side where the one neighbor that it's next to, it's on the side that he doesn't use the side yard, so it's not obstructing his view.
Are we done?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't really have any other comments than that. I don't know what else I could do possibly to have that a home for the orchids, because it sounds like if I have to be 10 feet away from the fence, it's exposed to too much sun and I would lose all of them.
Lauren, do we have any comments for the public?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, well then I'm going to go to our commissioners. Ray is still not back, I'm assuming. Oh, maybe he is. Let's start with Ross. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how this came before the board with compliance, like a violation.
I believe it was code compliance.
Sorry? Can you repeat?
I believe it was a code violation.
And when was the pergola installed? I guess.
I think that might have been a question for me. There was a pergola there when we first bought this property, but when we took all the excess growth down, I don't know if you can see from the overview, there's a lot of overgrowth in the yard. We took it down, it was completely rotted. So we replaced it, and I believe it might have been close to a year ago now.
And you've owned the property for how long?
Since February, it would be a year ago this past February.
So you were not aware that there was a code requirement for structures?
Well, we assumed because there was one there that we were just replacing it. I did go a little higher in the center than the original one was. It was straight across, and I made my center a little taller for my orchids that had the really long roots. But we put it in the same area. The sprinklers were already there for it, and we were just replacing it. So no, I was not aware. I mean, we've definitely gotten permits for everything else that we've done here, the fence, the roof, all the work on the house have all been permitted. We just weren't aware that replacing that structure would require us to come and get a permit first.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
June?
Hi, thank you. I do love orchids and I think they're beautiful, but I know that they can't exist outside in the sunshine. That's why I do like to keep mine in the patio where it is shade over there. I'm kind of like, you did already build this already, huh? And I know you're concerned about your orchids. I do have some concerns about the condition. So have any of your neighbors next door said anything, or anybody else said anything to you about it?
No, the neighbor, we did ask him. We're very close with the neighbor on the north or south side of us where the orchids are, and he can't see the structure at all anyway. That's the side where he stores his garbage cans. So, we were happy to be able to put it on that side, but without obstructing his view when he's enjoying his backyard and his pool. My other neighbor to the north has a completely overgrown yard like this one was before, so they can't see anything anyway. I don't know that they would have said, I mean, we've not talked to them about it. But no, the only other thing I'd say was one neighbor stopped by to ask because I think they got a code violation for a playground. So outside of that, I've not heard anything from the neighbors.
Okay, thank you very much.
Philip?
How well built is the structure as far as like, we get hurricane season and stuff? Is it pretty strong where it'll hold up?
Yeah, we did put all of the 4x4 posts are 2 feet in the ground with concrete. And that was one of the other reasons we wanted to attach it to the fence, because we have bolted it in. All the 4x4s are bolted to the other 4x4s that are in the fence. So I feel like it's very sound and structure sound. We've had a lot of windstorms so far, not quite hurricane force, but we've had several that had gusts that were pretty high, and it doesn't move at all.
Philip, this is Bradford. The applicant, if this variance is approved, they will have to get a building permit, and the building official will evaluate the structure for wind load requirements. If modifications do need to be made and more securing needs to be placed on this structure, the applicant would have to do that.
Okay.
That was gonna be my question. I don't have a problem with it as long as we find out that it is under full building code. So with that said, if there's no further questions, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve I'll find it here. Application number 2013.
Okay, can I get a second for that? Ray, are you with us now? Well, if I can't get a second, folks, then this is going to be a no. All right, so the motion does not pass. And we are going to move on to the next item.
Mr. Chair, we need to have action on that item, so that motion failed for lack of a second. We need to see if there are any other motions on the floor.
There's no other motions on the floor? So then it fails because we did not get a second.
Mr. Chair, we have to have action on this item, so there must be another motion. The commission has to act on this item.
All right, so then we need to make a motion to not accept the application due to not getting a second. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Okay, I'll make the motion to deny application number 20-13.
Can I get a second to that?
Aye. Second.
Is that you? Second from
Yes.
June?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And just so you're clear, Mr. Chair, all those in favor of a vote here in favor of this is a vote to deny.
Correct. All those in favor, it's a vote to deny. So all those in favor to deny,
Aye.
and all those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion fails 4-0.
Is there any opportunity, if we can get the wind load and the building permit to state that it is structurally sound, that we could do anything? Or this is where you say, because I couldn't get a second to pass it for the orchids and I just don't have an option?
I think what just occurred is there was a vote to deny this application that passed with a vote of 3-1. Now, this is a recommending body, so you will now go on to Village Council with a recommendation of denial by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm sorry, to Village Council from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So again, we are recommending to the Village Council, but what I would suggest is when you go before the council, have all your ducks in a row, have a letter from your neighbor. And we basically have our hands tied too because of the request that's being made here. So we're really supposed to hold everything to the rule of the law. Village Council has more leeway, but you need to have a little more information with you like I said, I would suggest that you get whatever letters you can from your neighbors supporting you, again, and then go before there and see what happens.
Anything besides, I appreciate you giving me the advice and the information. Is there anything besides letters from neighbors that I could do?
Ma'am, if I could, I have to stop you. This commission has voted. This action has been taken by this commission, so we should not engage in further discussion with the commission. You can certainly reach out to staff on this, but this commission should not provide any more comment to you. They've voted on your item.
Okay.
This is Bradford, the Director of the Planning and Zoning Department. Please feel free to contact our offices at 790-5131.
Thank you all. Is it okay to exit the call?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that said, we'll move on to application 2, which is number 20-54 SPM AAR, the new Village Hall. I got to say right off the front, that's pretty impressive looking building.
Yep, it sure is.
And if I could, this is Mitty, Mr. Hearing, this is a quasi-judicial item, so can you raise your right hand for me and I'll swear you in, and then I'll ask for ex parte with the commission. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Thank you, sir. And I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-54 that need to be disclosed.
No.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and proceed with my presentation, and I just want to start off by saying it's been a real pleasure working with the property owner on this application. The village, let me share my screen. And if you guys can confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The village is seeking site plan modification approval for changes to the Village Hall complex, which includes a new 25,380 square foot, 2-story Village Hall, reconfiguration of the parking areas, building architectural and aesthetic approval and landscape approval on a 16.58 acre property. The site is situated within the public ownership zoning district. It is located on the southeast corner of Okeechobee Boulevard and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. In reviewing this petition, village staff considered conformity with the Village of Royal Palm Beach's zoning code pertaining to the public ownership zoning district. Specifically, the proposed project meets requirements for the public ownership zoning district as it relates to parcel size, parcel width, setbacks, pervious area, parking requirements, landscape areas, maximum building height. This here is an illustration of the site. Much of the site will remain unchanged, and a new pedestrian access will be provided in the northeast west corner of the site to Royal Palm Beach Boulevard and Okeechobee Boulevard. And all the ingress-egress points, vehicular ingress-egress points, will remain the same. Proposed site plan complies with all aspects of the village landscape code. Here is a visual of the architecture that is being proposed for this new building. Again, here's some of the architectural rendering for this building. All of the other buildings within this campus will be reskinned to match the new building. And here's the David B. Farber Training Center and the Sheriff's Office building. Overall, the proposed site plan approval request meets all of the village's requirements for this type of use within the public ownership zoning district. Staff is requesting the recommendation of approval before the Village Council regarding application 2054 and resolution 2013. And with that being said, I'll turn the floor back over to you, Commissioner Chairman. Thank you.
Can't hear him.
Mr. Leland, you please unmute yourself. Nope. Still a no.
Oh, there we go.
Lauren, is there something on your end that you can do to unmute him?
He's
No,
unmuted, Bradford. He's there.
No, it took it a minute. It was just working slow. Sir, do you have a presentation you'd like to present to us?
We do have a brief presentation that I'd like to run through. If you could share, if I can share my screen, I'll go quickly.
Yes, please.
So, all right, show my screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Show my screen.
Yes.
You all can see my screen?
Mhm.
Well, good. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, Planning and Zoning Board members. For the record, my name is Donaldson Hearing, and I'm here on behalf of our wonderful project team, which include REG Architects, Mr. Rick Gonzalez and Manny Ayala, both on the webcam this evening. Our engineering consultants, Kimberly Horn, and the staff here at Kotler and Hearing, and George Missimer, who's the project planner, is here on the line. As Bradford pointed out, we are here tonight to talk about the Village Hall complex and opportunity to renovate this existing facility. It's anchoring one of the most prominent corners in Palm Beach County, at the corner of Royal Palm Beach Boulevard and Okeechobee Boulevard. It's a wonderfully located site and a great asset to all of the residents of the village of Palm Beach. So we are asking tonight to amend the approved site plan to provide for a new village complex, as well as your approval of the architecture and landscaping that we have tonight. So the existing village hall, just for facts and figures, is about 14,756 square feet. Which includes the 3,000 square foot council chambers that hopefully someday we will all be meeting in again. So the proposed building is 25,380 square feet. The existing council chambers will remain on site. So that building will remain and can be used for a variety of purposes, including meetings and council meetings. And the total square footage will be about 28,380 square feet. We exceed the minimum parking requirements, and we are proud to state that we have 52.5% open space on the site. So this is the site plan. That's an illustrative that's in front of you. Rick and his team did a wonderful job in developing the architecture for this building, because it will allow the existing building to remain in place, so staff and the existing operation can continue to function while the new building is being constructed, and then it will be demolished and the campus will be revised. You can see in the plan that's before you that the proposed site plan provides a lot of additional order to the site. It respects the existing council chambers on the lakes, and it works with the existing infrastructure and the existing buildings that are on site, the fire station, as well as the David Farber building and the sheriff's office that exist up in the northeast corner. One of the things our team is really super excited about, and we hope that you are too, is that the village manager and the village staff and their team really challenged the designers to, create not only a village hall, which is obviously an important public building, but to create some public space that would be usable by the residents and another great asset to the village. And this village has been, as you know, very proactive in creating great spaces. You've got Veterans Park, you've got the Commons Park. They've been great stewards of the assets that they have. So here in the front of the building, we have developed an area which will include a large fountain, reflective fountain. That is where we anticipate our art in public places. But this whole plaza area will be detailed and articulated with decorative pavers, will be developed as what we refer to in the planning world as a complete street. So there are no curbs. Everything is flush and flat. use special protective measures for safety, but it's basically barrier-free. So this space could be utilized for a multitude of functions. We also provide outdoor spaces for city staff as well as residents and community folks to be able to have sit outside at a picnic table, be socially distant, something that we're all getting very used to these days. So very, very exciting space, and you can see the intentionality that's been given to the design and the organization of this new facility. And public buildings should have a strong sense of place and strong organization.
Okay, what did you say, right icon on my name?
You can see the plaza area here again, just zooming on it so you can see how that's an exciting space. Now, the architectural design, and my good friend and colleague Rick Gonzalez is on the line. If we need him, we can get here. But truly, Rick is one of the most talented architects in Florida. And in this particular case, they really understood the roots of the existing village facilities. And so the design is intended to have a lot of the principles and characteristics of what Frank Lloyd Wright described as what he called prairie architecture. And so you've got a lot of strong overhangs. We introduced some limestone and other materials into the site that are indigenous, but I think it's extremely well done and well articulated, as you can see. The building elevations, very carefully done, very strong proportion, very strong attention to scale. It's a two-story building, so the existing village council chambers will accommodate about 85 people or so. This will bring you up to about 140, and so you can see that it will accommodate the village staff. They've been working in very cramped quarters for a long time, so this will make their operations much more efficient and effective for the next several decades moving forward. As Bradford pointed out, the other buildings around the campus are also being treated so that they tie in aesthetically. A lot of this is just simply paint and colors, but it is something that's important to have a very, very cohesive campus. Landscaping, of course, we've got a lot of great assets on the site, a lot of very nice, large oak trees that have become mature. Those will be relocated. We're utilizing royal palms around the semicircle or around the outside. We're introducing the royal palms and just really creating a nice sense of landscape and architecture to the site. Signage will be redone, and I won't go at great length over this, but the signage will be redone so everything is cohesive. And we anticipate some of these elements being carried over to some of the things that we're doing over at the Cultural Center as well. So that's my presentation. It's an honor to be able to work with the village as well as this great design team. And so we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Lauren, do we have any comments from the public?
No, David, not at this time.
And Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt you, I'm sorry for the interruption. I believe Ray Nazareth is back fully online. Ray, can you speak so that we are certain we can hear you?
Ray, are you there?
Well, never mind that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so let's start with the commissioners. Do you have any questions or comments? Ross, let's start with you, please.
Okay, no, beautiful design, exciting project. No comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen.
Philip?
I have no comments. Looks nice.
June?
Looks very nice, very appealing. Quick question, when will it start and when will it be finished?
I know that that everyone's very anxious to start. We've been expediting all of the plans, so I think it will start construction sometime in 2020, and I would assume a 14 to 16 month time frame, but that's just an assumption. Mr. Liggins and his team would be much better adept at answering that question.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Looks very nice.
Yeah, I thought everything looked very, very nice. Job well done. So with that said, we have no other further comments. Can I get a motion?
You want an approval?
I need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve application 20-54.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Looks like it carried 4-0. We don't know what's going on with Ray.
Yeah.
He is not on the dais, Mr. Chair. He cannot hear or speak, so he is, the audio is being turned off as we speak.
Okay, we will proceed then. So let's move on to the next item, number 3, application number 19-137 AAR Crestwood. The applicant Warman is requesting architectural approval for 10 new model designs with shingle roof options for a property located at 980 Crestwood Boulevard. So I'm with that said, Mitty, you want to ex parte everybody?
Yes, Jennifer, is that you? Can you hear me?
Yes, it is me. Sorry, I had issues with my login, so I had to utilize Doug's.
Okay, no problem. Can you state your name for the record?
Jennifer Vale with WGI.
Thank you, ma'am. As you know, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, so I need to swear you in. Thank you. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 19-137 that need to be disclosed at this time.
No.
No.
Thank you, Madam Chair, or Mr. Chairman, you may proceed.
Okay, so with that said, Jennifer, do you have a presentation for us or any comments that you'd like to give?
If I could give a presentation before her presentation, Chairman?
Sorry about that, Bradford. Getting a little weary here with all these audio problems.
Can you see my screen?
I can.
Yes.
Okay, great. The applicant is seeking architectural approval for 10 new model home designs with the introduction of a shingle roof option. The 10 new model homes are proposed to be designed in the Spanish Mediterranean architectural style. The applicant is not in support of the introduction of a shingle roof option since this option was not part of the original proposal of architectural style on the sale of the property to Lennar and the original approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. It goes against the architectural style that what those individuals who have already bought homes in the neighborhood currently experience today. On the next few slides, you will see the proposed changes, and they are generally consistent with current architecture, with the exception of the use of shingles, which the village is recommending denial on. Here you can see some of the architectural styles that will be added to the list of permitted architecture. Again, staff is recommending approval in part and denial in part of this application. Village staff is recommending approval of the proposed architectural changes for the additional 10 home styles. However, village staff is recommending denial of the inclusion of the shingle roof option. Staff believes that the shingle roof option is not consistent with the currently approved architecture. It runs contrary to the original architectural style that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and Village Council. Again, staff is making a recommendation of approval of the architectural changes without inclusion of the shingle roof option, and recommendation of denial on the inclusion of the single roof option be submitted to Village Council. With that being said, I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, and Jennifer, do you have any proposal for us?
I'm going to be brief, and since staff showed you some of the elevations that we are proposing, as they stated, we are proposing 10 additional models for the Crestwood development, range in square footage of just under 1,800 square feet to just over 3,100 square feet for those additional 10 models. As staff did indicate, we are also proposing one additional design element, which would be an option for a shingle roof. It is a dimensional shingle roof that is, we feel, consistent with the slate style as far as the coloring and the overall look of the development. The intention was to provide a design option that would provide a lower price point, as the roof option does provide a cost savings of around $13,000 to $17,000, depending upon obviously the size of the home and the amount of roofing that would be required. So with that, we request your support. We look to continue moving sales and completing the build out of this residential development within the village. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Lauren, do we have any comments from the public on this matter?
No, not at this time.
Okay. So then we'll go to the commissioners. Start with you, Philip. Any questions or comments?
This new shingles you want, I've seen them, but I think they look good. So I have no problem with that particular aspect of it. So that's the only comment I have right now.
Ross?
Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, I guess this is a question for the applicant. I'm curious, is there a demand for this type of roof? Is there a slowdown in demand for the current models with the previously approved tile roofs? This one is being proposed at this time.
Really, the demand came with providing or updated, models. We've come in a few times with, additional models for this development, trying to, keep consistent with trends and what the buyers are looking for in this market, utilizing product from other developments within the area and across the state that are doing well and being well received by the buyers. Again, it was more of providing an alternative design element that would provide more of an affordable price point for some of the first-time home buyers that may still want to be in the area and the development, but certain. Like I said, it's around a $13,000 to $17,000 cost savings, so it's a substantial savings just for that one element. And we feel that it's still be in keeping with the other roof styles as we do have not only the more of the barrel tile, S-tile type roof, but also the slate tile that was introduced with the transitional models.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Quick question. When was the original architect style and with the village and the planning and zoning approved? How long ago was that? With the tile roofs? Roughly.
I believe it was around 2014 or 15.
2014 or 15? Okay. I'm just a little concerned as to why we did approve everything is a tile roof, and now you're coming back wanting to do it as a shingle roof. I understand the pricing, but it's a little concerning with me regarding that. What's the difference between the quality between the shingle and the tile? One better, one outlasts the other? What's the difference?
The price.
It is the price. Quality, shingle roofs today with the dimensional, you typically have, a 30-year shingle, 15-year shingle roof that's, comparable to a tile roof. It really comes down to the actual cost for the material. Typically for a tile roof as well, it's a heavier weighted material. So the trusses that have to be designed to hold the weight are more substantial. So that is part of the cost savings in that regard as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so commissioners, we have to decide whether we want to agree with staff on this item and approve this proposal without the shield option, or just approve it as it stands. So with that said, can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve application number 19-137 as presented by staff without inclusion of shingle roof option and a recommendation of denial on the inclusion of the shingle roof option.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. We have 2 or 4 and 2 are. I agree with Philip that I think a little bit of, diversity is not a bad thing.
There's a lot of developments you go through, they have tile and shingle roofs.
Exactly.
And,
So,
you know, I don't have a problem with it. It's individual choice.
all right, Mitty, normally I'm the tiebreaker, but in this case, because we lost Ray, we're in a dead heat.
Right, the question now would be, are there any other motions from the floor that anyone wishes to make?
So, would you like to submit a new motion, Philip?
So let me ask a question. Isn't Adam available to step in since Ray is not available? I thought Adam was available.
He was online, but IS was trying to work with Ray to reestablish his connection, so it would be improper for us to add him now. He would have needed to be added at the beginning of this meeting. So
Okay.
It is the 4 of you. I will state, just so you understand, that this item is moving on to the village council. So as has happened with this applicant in the request for new models that have come through you before. But as was indicated, your previous motion stands at a tie. So if, next up is, are there any other motions to be made?
Well, I guess we don't. So with that said, good luck with village council.
Well, are there any other motions? Do any other commissioners wish to make a motion?
No, Philip didn't want to change it. We have 2.
I'll change it, but I don't know exactly how to say it.
You would be starting as a new motion. That motion was a tie, so that motion is no longer. Any motions can come from any of you, except for the chair, obviously, going forward.
Okay, so let me make the motion. I'll make us another motion. Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so motion to approve application number 19-137 as submitted with inclusion of the shingle roof option and a recommendation of approval of the inclusion of the shingle roof option.
All right, so can I get a second to that one?
I'll second that.
Hey, we're moving forward. All right, with that said, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? A nay. So we carried 4-0. Thank you, Ross.
You're welcome.
Thank
We
you
have
very much.
progress.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Okay, with that said, we'll move on to our next item. Jennifer, you're free to leave if you'd like. Yep. Our next application is application number 20-05 AAR Domino's Pizza. The applicant, Tigo Inc., DBA Expose Yourself USA, is requesting architectural approval for new tenant signage for a property located at 10200 Fox Trail Road South, A4.
Great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The applicant is requesting architectural approval for a wall sign approval for a Domino's Pizza restaurant located at 10200 Fox Trail Road South. The applicant is requesting architectural approval for wall sign approval for the Domino's Pizza restaurant. The applicant is proposing a sign which reads Domino's in PMS 307 blue and Domino tile with PMS 185 red and PMS 307 blue. Staff is recommending approval of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chairman. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I may jump in, we need to swear in the applicant and take ex parte before any other discussion occurs. Is the applicant online? Lauren, do we have an applicant?
It appears that way, but, self-muted himself.
Seems like a pretty simple application. Do we want to just go ahead and move to the board comments?
I'm sorry, I think you were trying to unmute the wrong person. That's not mine.
While we're trying to get them, are there any ex parte communications with regard to 20-05?
No. So the applicant is not available? How about, is there anyone from the public?
Oh, I'm here now.
Thank you, sir. Can you state your name for the record? This is the village attorney.
My name is Jeffrey Locke.
Thank you, sir. I need to swear you in. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes,
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
My name is Jeff Locke.
Jeff Locke. Jeff, did you like to make any comments on your application at this time?
I think it's a pretty standard revision, just to update the style to the more modern Domino style.
Right. Okay, are there any comments from the public, Lauren?
No, David, none at this time.
Okay, then commissioners. Ross, you have any questions on this?
None, no questions or comments, thanks.
June?
No questions or comments.
Philip?
I think the white sign stands out more than the blue sign, but it's their choice, you know.
It's their corporate colors.
Right.
Okay. I don't have any comments either. So with that said, can I have a motion?
I'll make
the motion. Or go ahead, Phil.
I'll make a motion to approve application number 2005.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Now we're cooking. Okay, the next item, item number 5, application number 20-12 AAR, Fred Astaire Dance Studio. The applicant, Designs to Go Inc., is requesting architectural approval for a new wall sign for the property located at 157 South State Road 7, Suite 103. And
Lauren, I'll ask for to swear the applicant in. Is the applicant online for this agenda item?
Yes, I am.
Can you state your name for the record, sir?
Yes, my name is David Diaz on behalf of Designs to Go.
Thank you, sir. I have to swear you in. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Sure.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-12 that need to be disclosed.
No.
no.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, David, do you have any comments or presentation?
How about I make a quick presentation?
Please proceed.
The applicant is requesting architectural approval for wall sign approval for the Fred Astaire Dance Studio located at 157 South State Road 7, Suite 103. The applicant is proposing 2 wall signs which read Fred Astaire Dance Studio with a dancing couple logo on the east and west elevations. Each wall sign proposed is on a raceway matching color of the wall. The Fred Astaire channel letters are in white acrylic and the Dance Studio channel letters are in Oracle black vinyl 8500-070. The dancing couple are in gold metallic translucent vinyl 880091, Oracle black vinyl 8500-040, and white plexiglass. And this is an illustration of the signs. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, now I come back to you, David. Do you have any comments?
No, just it's illuminated according to their brand, and we're very careful to hopefully stick to your guys' planning and zoning good practices.
Well, thank you for that. Lauren, do we have any comments from the public?
Not at this time.
Okay, then back to the commissioners. June, any comments?
No comments.
Philip?
No comment.
Ross?
None from me.
I have no comments either. I think the sign looks very nice. So with that said, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application 20-12.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, on to, you're very welcome, thank you. Application number 20-40 AAR, Saratoga Pines. Yellowfin Builders is requesting architectural approval for an existing entrance monument sign for a property located at 158 Saratoga Boulevard West.
Mr. Chair, I'll ask the applicant, are you online for this item? Lauren, do we have the applicant?
I have one applicant on.
Sir or ma'am, can you hear us? While we're trying to figure that out, I'll turn to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-40 that need to be disclosed.
No.
Applicant, are you on?
Would you
Lauren?
just like to proceed, Mitty?
Yes, Bradford, can we just proceed, please?
Got it. The applicant is seeking architectural approval to change the face of the existing entrance monument sign at Saratoga Pines. The sign face will utilize silver Taj Mahal stone and glacial gray marble gray stone on the sign face. And here is a illustration, the best illustration we got from the applicant, of how that sign will look. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. So, Lauren, do you have any comments from the public on this matter?
No comments at this time, David.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, Ross,
No comments or questions.
June,
No comments or questions.
Philip?
Nope, no questions.
I think it's a definite improvement, so I put it for you. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application 2040.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, folks. Next is application number 20-47 AAR, Biomat Plasma Center. The applicant, Testa and Son Signs, is requesting architectural approval to install new wall signage and monument signs for an existing property at 100 Business Parkway.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the applicant is online or not. Is there an applicant, Lauren, for this one?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear
Can you
me?
say your name for the record, please?
Dave Testa.
Thank you, sir. This is a quasi judicial item. I need to swear you in. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-47 that need to be disclosed at this time.
No.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Bradford, what do you got for us on this one?
The applicant is requesting signage approval for Biomat Plasma Center located at 100 Business Parkway. The applicant is proposing two wall signs which read Grifols, Biomat, USA Plasma Center, and PMS 1 or PMS 287C on the east and south elevations. In addition to the wall signs, the request includes an update to the copy of the two existing monument signs, which read Biomat USA Grifols Plasma Center and PMS 287C on white acrylic background. Here's a illustration of the east elevation, south elevation, and here is an illustration of the monument sign, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, Lauren, do we have any comments from the public on this?
None at this time.
Okay, back to the commissioners. Philip, any comments?
No comments.
No
June?
comment. No comments.
Ross?
No, none.
And
I have
Mr.
none
Chair,
either. So with that, can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just make sure the applicant didn't want to say anything or give a
No, I'm-
presentation?
So far, so good. I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sorry about that.
If you have them. Roll.
No one has
I'll
any
make a motion
questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Go
David.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, motion to approve application number 20-47.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, folks.
Okay, thank you.
Our next application is number 20-42 LW, First Baptist Church. The applicant, called Clear and Hearing, is requesting 14 landscape waivers from section 15 of the village code for various areas of the landscape plan for a property located at 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. George, I see you. This is Mitty, the village attorney. I need to swear you in, place you under oath. Can you raise your right hand for me? Thank you, sir. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there are any ex parte communications with regard to 20-42 that need to be disclosed.
No.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Bradford, we're back to you.
Okay. This waiver request is for the site plan modification request. That is the next item on the agenda. For a church located at 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard, the applicant is requesting landscape waivers from various sections of village code. Over the next few slides, we'll touch upon these these waiver requests. On the south property line, the applicant is requesting the elimination of the 3-foot berm requirement. If you can see my cursor, I will periodically refer to the cursor, and this is the area in which we're speaking of. This waiver is being requested since this is an existing condition and the berm was not required during the original construction. The inclusion of a berm would be detrimental to the existing mature trees, which staff agrees with that. Along the south property line, applicant is requesting, again, a reduction of the required 25-foot buffer along Wildcat Way to 10 feet and tapering down to 8 feet. We're talking about this area here. The reduction in the required buffer width along Wildcat Way is due to the irregular shape of the property and would greatly impact reasonable use of the property. Staff does agree with that assessment. Along the northeast property line, the applicant is requesting to eliminate the berm requirement. This waiver is being requested as a direct result of conflict with the existing wetland on the northern portion of the property. This would be the wetland here. And also along the west property line, the applicant is requesting to eliminate the berm requirement. This waiver is being requested because if the 3-foot berm were to be provided, the existing mature canopy trees would be eliminated. It would be along here in this landscape buffer. A waiver from section 15-133 perpendicular divider strips. North of the existing church building, the applicant is requesting a reduced width for a perpendicular landscape divider strip. Applicant is proposing to reduce the required 5-foot perpendicular landscape strip down to 3.5 feet wide. Justification is that the applicant contends the perpendicular landscape strip does not meet the minimum landscape material, does meet the minimum landscape material requirements, but there is a 2-foot overhang into the strip, and this is the most reasonable configuration due to the dimensions of the property, and that if the landscape strip was to be in accordance with village code, it would then reduce the buffering to the residential properties to the north. Directly to the north and east of the church building, the applicant is requesting to reduce width for a perpendicular landscape strip, and that would be this area here. The applicant contends that this waiver is justified due to the curvature of the parcel. The internal layout of the square parking configuration causes a pinch point on the perpendicular landscape strip. It also means that there is a much wider section of the divider strip as well as the landscape material requirements when the divided strip is being met. The waiver to section 15-133, double terminal islands, various areas, that would be this one here, that one, and this one. In various areas of the landscape plan, the applicant is requesting a reduction in the minimum 8 foot wide double terminal islands down to 7 feet, 5 double terminal islands and down to 6 feet for 1 double terminal island. The applicant contends that due to the irregular shape of the property and the addition of pedestrian path through the parking area, a full 8 feet of landscape islands exclusive of sidewalks not provided on both sides of every double terminal island. However, due to the curvature of the drive aisles, one side of every double terminal island is greater than the other, in some instances as much as 16 feet wide. Waiver from section 15143C, trees. This waiver request is to allow for a reduction in the plant material standards for the required village code mitigation trees for the project. Village code requires that upon planting of mitigation trees that they have a height of 14 feet in diameter at breast height of 2.5 inches. Based on the updated tree survey, there are 255 required mitigation trees for the project. Additionally, 33 preservation trees are required. All preservation requirements are being met with the proposed plan for tree locations. However, the mitigation code requires placement trees be 14 feet tall with a 2.5 inch diameter at breast height at the time of planting. Trees of this size require equipment to place them on site due to their large size. South Florida Water Management District does not allow the use of equipment within the wetland area. However, planting native trees within a wetland by hand is not restricted. The applicant is proposing an enhanced mitigation design utilizing trees that can be planted by hand. Varying tree heights and native species will provide a natural design that will enhance the wetland area as well as trees from the residential properties to the north. To compensate for the reduced tree size for the mitigation trees, the applicant is proposing to plant 168 additional trees above what is required by code minimum of 423 trees. A total of 76 mitigation trees are proposed to meet the minimum size requirement of 14 feet tall. A waiver is being requested for the remaining 179 required mitigation trees to allow those trees being installed at less than the required 14-foot minimum. Section 15130 pines is palms. This waiver request is to allow royal palms to be counted at a 1 palm tree to 1 shade tree ratio for the required shade trees. Where village code requires palm trees to be counted on a 3 palm trees to 1 shade tree ratio. The applicant intends, due to royal palm trees' mature size, they provide a much larger canopy than many other palms. Royal palm trees are proposed to be utilized in a narrow landscape area along Wildcat Way. This waiver, next waiver request is to allow a row of 16 parking spaces without a landscape island break them up. Village code requires a parallel divider strip in a run of 10 or more parking spaces, and you can see here that does not occur. The applicant states that this waiver request is due to an existing parking condition on the property at the time of construction. It was not required of the applicant to place that. Staff is recommending approval in part of application 2042 through adoption of landscape waiver number 2002 with regard to landscape waivers. Staff is recommending denial in part of application 2042 with regard to waiver request for the mitigation trees. Request to deviate from section 143(c) trees. Allow for a reduction in the required minimum tree size of 14 feet tall and 2.5 inches in diameter at breast height upon planting. So just to restate that, staff is recommending approval of the other landscape waiver requests with the exclusion and recommending denial of section 15143 trees to allow for a reduction in the required minimum tree size of 14 feet tall and 2.5 inches in diameter at breast height upon planting. With that being said, I will turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and George, you're present. Would you like to make any comments?
I would. Tep Bradford did an excellent job with this presentation. I hadn't heard is their recommendation of denial of the mitigation. So we agree with their determination on all the other waivers and spend most of our time on that waiver request, just in the keeping of everyone's time as much as possible here. So if I could share my screen, I can share a nice site plan graphic that we created. All right. What's everybody looking at right now? There we go.
Or is that your screen or is that Bradford's screen? There we go.
All right, can you see my screen now with the graphic and my cursor?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. All right, so this is our colored site plan rendering of the overall site, so you can get a better picture of what we're doing here. You can see the aerial here of what's existing, the existing areas, and then the waiver request in particular that staff is recommending denial to is applicable to the mitigation trees that we are proposing for the site. So this wetland area up here is where we're proposing a majority of our mitigation trees, just because it is one of the only available areas to plant our excess requirement. So the way that the mitigation is calculated is based off the trees that we're removing from the site. And so we have to find a place on site to plant those trees above the code required minimum. So most of the landscaping you see within the parking area, all the buffers, all that's considered required and can't be counted towards that mitigation requirement. So we're restricted to being able to plant that those mitigation trees on site to this area, which is the intent of the mitigation code, is to be able to provide as much replacement canopy coverage on the actual property rather than making it somewhere else in the city or even just paying a fee in lieu of planting trees back. The church wants to be able to provide that canopy coverage, but due to the restrictions of planting within that wetland area, they're unable to plant the full-size 14-feet trees. So to reiterate staff's presentation, we're required 255 mitigation trees for what's being removed. Those need to be provided at 14-foot height. We're proposing 423 mitigation trees on site, so substantially more than what's required, and these trees will have that mature height that's desired. It's just going to take a few years. 76 of the 423 are provided at 14 feet height because we found places around the wetland and around some of the retention areas that we can plant those size trees, and then 347 are less than that 14-foot height, but some are 12, some are 6. There's a range to create a interesting landscape that both restores that wetland area as well as enhances the property, because currently within that wetland there is no trees existing at all, and part of our proposal here is to create that restored wetland to really create value within the village. So that was the reasoning behind what we're doing. We would plant the 14-foot high trees if we could, but again, due to the restrictions we have within that wetland, we have to be able to plant these trees by hand and can't use heavy equipment to carry them. Talking about 423 trees. There's a lot of trees to move. To do it with any reasonable amount of time by hand, they can't be the 14-foot height. So that is the summary of that request. Again, the other waivers that we're requesting, we are in agreement with staff's presentation, and we really appreciate their help through this process.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Lauren, do we have any comments from the public on this?
Not at this time.
Okay, and Bradford, just clarification, please. From what George just said, I kind of agree with what they're proposing because they can't get the equipment in to get the bigger trees in there. So basically what we're being told and what it looks like is that these trees will get to that required height. But it's just going to take a little bit of time. Am I understanding that?
Your understanding is correct. There is another option that the applicant has, and that is the buyout of their mitigation requirements, where they would purchase or they would buy out these trees, and the price would be based on the maturity of 14 feet and 2.5 feet at breast height. That is the other option that they have, but you are absolutely correct in that these trees that they are proposing to plant will eventually be at the maturity that the code requires upon planting, and you'll have a lot more of them.
And Bradford, if I may, this is Mitty. Can I ask you one additional question? Isn't a third option that they plant the trees not all in the wetland, that they plant them somewhere else on the site?
I think that what George Missimer had mentioned in his presentation, that due to where they are planting the required trees as far as buffering and landscaping requiring the vehicle use areas. There is not opportunities in other areas of site plan to plant these trees, and that this is the logical option.
Okay, with that said, thank you, Bradford.
You're welcome.
And again, we have no comments from the public, so I'm going to go to the commissioners. June, do you have any questions or comments?
So you're just saying that you're gonna plant 423 trees in that location then, right?
Correct. So the majority of those trees are located in that wetland area. Again, some are around the perimeter, and then some are around some of the proposed retention areas as much as we could.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Philip?
I have no questions on this.
Ross?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So the first question is, the site plan, my understanding is that there is an increase in the area of the parking areas and parking spaces. Is that correct?
There is an increase in the number of parking spaces provided, and that's due to the increase in the proposed building square footage. That'll be part of the next item that we discuss.
Right. Okay. Is the what is the required number of parking spaces, and how many parking spaces are being provided?
Right now, we are providing, I believe it's 488 parking spaces. And you'll, through the presentation of the next, through the site plan, we aren't proposing the architectural design drawings of these proposed buildings. We have the approximate square footages and the approximate use. So the new sanctuary church building will have approximately 1,300 seats, and then the old sanctuary will have their daycare operation expanded. So the required and provided parking counts are at a similar number right now. And if we I
can jump in here. I have those numbers.
Go ahead.
The proposed site plan provides 488 parking spaces, which exceeds the minimum 405 parking spaces required by village code, and they are requesting to utilize not to exceed 50% of their parking spaces as grassed parking spaces. They will be they are being sensitive to the pervious areas on this site. So I think, Ross, that may have kind of struck to the heart of your comment and the concern for pervious and impervious area.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's basically, I mean, where the required number of parking spaces is 405, and we're providing 488 spaces, which is significantly higher than what's required. Unless there's a problem with the code number, with the code requirements, which may be too low, because I see this on these applications. So we're struggling to find places to plant trees. The applicant is struggling to find places to plant trees, but at the same time, we're providing way more parking spaces than are required. And I mean, my preference would be trees, not more parking. So anyway, that's my comment.
Completely understand your position there, and the reason for the discrepancy in required versus provided parking again is that the uses expected for this property, again, we're increasing the size of the sanctuary exponentially from what's existing. So there's a lot more seats in the hall there, and the daycare use is most likely going to expand within that existing daycare. They're going to have a lot more room that they can expand in the future. And so part of that is when we come back in for that architectural approval, those parking spaces, that required number will likely increase. And again, like Bradford said, we are providing a substantial amount of this parking as grass and the expectation that, you know, a large field of asphalt is, you know, more impactful than what we're proposing. So while we see reducing the number of parking spaces at this point would not be in line with the expected future architectural approval for this property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then the question that we have here, I'm okay actually with the proposal that these trees over years are going to be, will attain where they need to be, and we're getting more green. So I know you have an issue with the parking spaces, Ross, but I think they've, you know, First Baptist Church has been a good neighbor for a lot of years. So I think they've done a pretty good job with this, but you know, it's up to you guys. Can I get a motion to either deny one part of this and accept the rest? I'm asking you commissioners how you would like to handle this. I'm okay to accept the plan as it is.
I'll make a motion that we, application 2042 as read.
Okay, can I get a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay. Opposed.
Okay, so it passes 3-1. Thank you, George, and I assume you're going to be here for the next two items, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that said, let's move on to number 9, application number 19-0071, SPM AAR, First Baptist Church. Applicant is Kotler and Hearing, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, Kotler and Hearing.
Pronounce it again, please.
Kotler and Hearing.
It is Cutler, okay. And is requesting site plan modification and architectural approval for a new worship hall, accessory buildings, and add 5.5 acres to the site for property, same location, 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant's already been sworn in, so I'll turn back to the commission and ask if there's any ex parte communications with regard to 19-0071 that need to be disclosed.
No.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Bradford, what do you got for us on this one?
Okay, I will be brief. I think that we're on the downward slope here. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. The applicant is seeking a site plan amendment and architectural approval for a new worship hall, accessory buildings, and to expand the existing 8.67 acre church site to include an additional 5.55 acres for a total land area of 14.22 acres. The architectural approval request is for future buildings and structures along with the landscape plan. The site is situated within general commercial zoning district. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to expand the church building areas and use the additional parcel of land to ensure adequate parking for the existing and proposed place of worship use areas. The applicant is proposing to develop the site in a number of sequences, starting with the parking areas. The new parking areas will support the church during the construction activities for the new buildings being proposed. The submitted sequencing plan, Phase 1A, consists of the paved parking area directly north of the existing church property. Sequence 2A consists of the paved parking field on the far west side of the existing church. Sequence 2B consists of all the building improvements. Here is the grassed parking area along with the wetland area, and this is how that configuration will look. In reviewing this petition, village staff considered conformity with the Village of Royal Palm Beach's zoning code pertaining to the public ownership, the general commercial zoning district. Specifically, the proposed project meets the requirements as it relates to parcel size, parcel width, setbacks, pervious area, parking requirements, landscape areas, aside from the waiver request, maximum building height. Overall, and except for the landscape waivers, the proposed site plan is conformance with the village's requirements for the general commercial zoning district. Staff requests a recommendation of approval of application 19-0071 and resolution 2015 be submitted to village council. With that being said, I'll conclude my presentation. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradford. All right, George, you have any comments for us?
I'll keep it brief. I don't want to reiterate all of the information that Bradford went over. I would just like to add that staff's ability to adapt to the existing conditions and frustrations that we've all been going through has been exemplary. They've done a great job helping us through the process, and it's been enjoyable to work with them. But I won't bother for sake of time to go through all the information over again, but thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Not at this time.
Okay. Ross, any comments?
No comments.
Philip?
Nothing on this one.
June?
No comments.
All right, I have no further comments either. So with that said, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve application 19-0071.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Don't go anywhere, George.
Been dream of it.
Okay, item 10 is our application number 20-07, PP, First Baptist Church. The applicant Cutler in hearing is requesting preliminary plat approval for one parcel of land totaling 14.22 acres for a property located at 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This applicant has been sworn in. This is legislative, so no ex parte disclosure is required for this item or the next. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Bradford?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. This plat, the applicant is requesting a plat for the First Baptist Church, essentially to combine those two property, the newly acquired piece with the wetlands in the grass parking area with the current site. The preliminary plat meets section 2222 for preliminary plat requirements. Plat contains all information required. The platted property meets all dimensional requirements for the, I'm sorry, this says multifamily, but the general, it should say general commercial zoning district. Staff is recommending approval of this application, and staff is requesting a recommendation of approval be submitted to Village Council. And with that being said, I'll turn the floor back over to you. These are sometimes become a ministerial applications, and again, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradford. All right, you're up, George.
Great. So again, I'll keep it brief. Just like Bradford said, this is somewhat of an administrative tying up this project to expand the parking area into that 5.55 acre that we're adding to the site plan. We have to combine it into one lot since the parking area is not an approved standalone use within the village. So that is the replat, and as Bradford said, it meets all the requirements for the village, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Lauren, again, do you have comments from the public on this?
Not at this time, David.
Thank you. Excuse me. Talking too much, I'm getting a dry throat. All right, I'll turn it over to the commissioners. Philip, you have any questions or comments?
Nothing on this one.
Ross?
No, none on this.
June?
No, no comments.
I don't either. Okay, so with that said, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve application 2007.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Hey, George, I have one question for you. How old are you? You look like you're 16 years old. I feel very old.
Right?
I just turned 25.
Oh, so old.
You're a year younger than my youngest. All right, George, you did a good job tonight. You only had one dissenting vote on 3 items.
I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Okay, we're going to move on to our last agenda item tonight. It's application number 20-14 PP, Southern Boulevard Properties, Pod 4. The applicant Evans Land Consulting is requesting preliminary plat approval for one parcel of land totaling 33.748 acres located on the south side of Acme Road and west of State Road 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As was the item before, this is ministerial, so no ex parte is required. I believe Jeff Evans, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and swear you in. Can you raise your right hand for me?
I am raising it.
Thank you. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Bradford, you're up.
Great, thank you. I first want to apologize to Jeff for making him last on this. And thank you for your patience. This is an application for preliminary plat approval for 4 parcels of land totaling 33.748 acres located on the south side of Acme Road and west of State Road 7. The site has a land use designation of single family and zoning designation of single family residential, RS3. Village Council granted site plan approval for Pod 4 in July 2019 through the approval of Resolution 1917. The proposed preliminary plat is consistent with the approved site plan. Furthermore, the plat conforms to the platting requirements of Village Code, more specifically Section 2222 preliminary plat, Section 2680 parens 4 site development standards. This is the western portion of the plat, and as you can see, there's those residential single-family lots, again consistent with the approved site plan. And here's the east portion of the preliminary plat, and again consistent with the approved site plan. With that being said, I'll conclude my presentation. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradford. All right, Jeff, do you have any questions or comments for us?
At this time.
Jeff, are you there?
I think if he has one thing to say is that he would like to receive a positive motion from the board and vote of approval.
Okay. So, Lauren, any comments from the public on this one?
There is no comments at this time.
Okay, let's move it on. Ross, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
June?
No comments or questions.
Philip?
Nothing for me.
Okay, then. All right, I don't have any further comments. I read everything. It looks pretty cut and clear to me. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve application number 20-14.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Great job, guys. We got through that pretty good.
Bravo, everyone.
Thank you.
We got one last bit of business to do. We have to reorganize ourselves and elect our new chairperson and a new vice chair.
Well, I think, Dave, you said you've been doing such a good job. I think you ought to stay right where you are.
No, unfortunately, I'll jump in here. Unfortunately, the village code requires you to reorganize annually, and it doesn't allow for consecutive terms. So I guess what has happened in the past, I think the longest standing member is Commissioner Perrin. Current Chair Leland is right behind her. So you can certainly vote however you want, but unfortunately, Chair Leland can't serve a consecutive term. So someone else is going to have to step into that chair role.
I think I should nominate Ross here. He is the co-chair.
I'll second it.
I'll second that too.
All right, then I agree with that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hey, Ross, you should have missed this meeting.
Do I have an opportunity to accept? Or?
Yeah, no, we just accept.
You just get to accept.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No problem. Thank you for your confidence.
Right. I need I need someone to propose a co-chair.
I propose June as the co-chair.
I'll second that one.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I get to vote?
No.
Aye.
No. Poor Ray missed a pretty important ending here, didn't he? Okay, guys, I get a year off.
That's right. And you get a year off, Ross.
Yeah, looks so. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, guys, this was an
Well,
awesome meeting. I think we can do.
It's been fun and I've really enjoyed it. I love giving back to the community whenever I can. You know, we've been here a long, long time. My business has been in the same location 32 years. And I've been a village resident for 28 now. So I've really enjoyed my time on this commission. And I enjoy the staff that we work with. Mitty, you've been fantastic. And thank you for all your help. And Ross will do a great job with June there, poking him in the ear. So
Oh,
You may never
Ross will do fine.
That means you have to show up at 7:54.
No, 6:54.
our next meeting, guys, is on Tuesday, July 28th. And I say we're adjourned.
Thank you. We did awesome on this meeting, I think. We were really good. Little difficulties in the beginning, but we moved through it greatly.
Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties, but it all worked out.
But we straightened it out.
Very good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. See you next month.
Yeah, see you next month.